Hi, everybody. Thank you, Road team, for organizing the session. And I hope my screen is viewable. Is that all right?
Yes, it is.
Brilliant. Okay, so thanks for coming to the session. I see we have 10 attendees, and I hope we have more. I'll introduce quickly myself. I'm working for Cubic for the last 6 years and part of QDB family. My responsibilities is to train entrepreneurs. First of all, is to develop programs for them, whether Lean Startup program, Lean Acceleration program, and of course the Lean Coaching program, which is this session is part of. We have Lean Manufacturing program, and we have traditionally all incubators, they have hackathons. And this is the beginning of the journey to support entrepreneurs and then move them to incubation services. In parallel to that, I'm also responsible of managing the fund that we have with our partner Uridu under the vertical in Cubic called Digital and Beyond. And also I'm an angel investor. So far in my career, I work with more than 750 startups in Qatar and overseas. I've started 2 companies for 10 years, and for the last 11 years, I've been managing innovation centers and incubators working with entrepreneurs. My background is in design thinking and innovation management, and I'm also certified strategizer coach. This is a bit about me, so I'm going to cover today with you the following points, kicking off with introduction about Cubic and our offerings. Then I'll dive into the Lean Coaching program and diving deeper into the coaching dynamics, and I'll pick up your questions. Now, the session is pretty dynamic, so if you fire away, I have here on my left-hand screen with your questions. So feel free to stop me at any point, so we don't have per se to leave the Q&A to the end, right? So what you're gonna get out of this session is a bit more knowing about what does it mean incubation, what does it mean coaching, and I dive into the coaching dynamics and how we coach and we work with startups, and what is not coaching also. Moving forward, a snitch about Cubic, we are basically, the mandate is to, or the ambition is to develop the next wave of entrepreneurs and basically to start and scale their ventures. So this is definitely what we want to help or enable the ecosystem to achieve. We sit in Salwa Road in the industrial area, or actually new industrial area. We're a mixed incubator. That means we work with startups, we work with SMEs, and to be specific in the industrial portfolio. So working with startup and SMEs, position ourselves as a mixed incubators between sectors and also between startups and SMEs. We've been recognized that, with our from between QDB and Nama Center, that was in 2014. And lately we've been fully owned by QDB. Our role is to empower the local entrepreneurs to start and grow their ventures, and how? Through incubating, developing, training, connecting, investing. This is the tools that we offer. Some numbers about us: we have around 7,000 applications so far since we opened. We incubated 209 startups. We give them seed funding, 700. We have 7 million so far invested, and they have generated 150 million in revenue. This is the startups' accumulative revenue. We're almost fully occupied, and with our programs, we have beneficiaries with more than 650 graduates. So this is the goals that we focus on. First is to develop the next generation of successful entrepreneurs. Second is contribute to the development of the country's private sector. As you know, startups, they go into the private sector and they steer up the economy. And then, as you've seen, when somebody grows, scales, and then exits or goes for IPO, these are the contributions to the GDP that we would like to contribute to. And the last one is transform the mindset, which is very important, of Qatari companies in progressive and effective manner. The mindset is important because you might give a try for a first venture, it doesn't work, but at least you understand the roadmap and the mindset. The tools always change because they're updated, but at least, you know, the idea of going by a venture, which we're going to talk about today. These are offerings, so from training to investment to smart funding. We have industrial workshops in the back. We have offices. We have coaching, you know, mostly is the hardcore or activity in the incubator. You know, I can summarize incubation for those who are not very familiar with incubation. It's about three things. It's about, first of all, training them, because training helps you to filter. And then once you say yes to them, you will invest. And after you invest, you coach. So these are the three pillars or the three cogs of incubation. They work hand in hand. You cannot separate. The moment you separate them, you're starting to fragment the streamlining of incubation services. So with that, we have Lean Startup Program, which is, as I mentioned, there are hackathons in the beginning. The winners of hackathons come into the Lean Startup Program, then Lean Acceleration. For the startup portfolio for manufacturing, we have the manufacturing program, the Lean Coaching Program, which is the heart of the session today. We have investment series because our startups, they need to raise funds. So we plan an investment event. We have Fab Lab in the ground floor at Cubic. So they help entrepreneurs who wants to prototype products. So this is for products, physical products. So they do, they have CNC machines, 3D printers, millers, you know, there are a lot of components to assemble a few pieces for you. There are software and hardware engineers there that they're awesome, and they can help you to, you know, create the first prototype, working prototypes, and even sometimes limited batch. We have mix and match, where we bring different entrepreneurs and different stakeholders, and then we create some type of a collective value when they pitch to each other and they try to network for different reasons, for product dev, for partnerships, for, you know, investment potentially, for recruitment. So it's pretty diverse, the activity, and speaker series, you know, to inspire mostly, and we bring usually interesting speakers who have been, you know, have accomplished, you know, key milestones in their career. So now on the structure of Cubic and our partners. So if you go to our website, you'll see you can apply to Cubic, or you can apply to Cubic Digital and Beyond in partnership with Uridu. So this is something that we have a startup with, either you get funded from QDB, Cubic, or from the Uridu Fund. And the Uridu Fund has a mandate with specific themes that they are interested in to invest in startups. And we have the third portfolio that is Jahez, industrial workshops. You will apply to QDB website, and then after you get awarded, we will work with the beneficiaries. Here's the journey for our entrepreneurs. So as I mentioned in the beginning, if you think of the triangle as the hackathons, after you come into the hackathon, there's something interesting about your venture, we'll invite you to the Lean Startup Program for 10 weeks. And then if there will be pitching day, and if there's interesting venture, we will say yes, we incubate for 1 year, and we invest on a convertible note for 250,000 riyals, 100K cash, 150,000 as the in-kind value, total 250. You spend with us 1 year, we will coach you, we'll give you an office, and then halfway through the year, we will do an investment event where you can pitch and you can source investments from angels and VCs from the market. This is the 1 year that finishes, and then we check in. If there is investability, we will put another ticket and we will incubate you for another year. And then there is the acceleration program. We assume that you should be live as a startup, live in the market with the MVP, with revenue, and fully dedicated to the venture. And you have a little bit of fun. Now we're claiming that we are investing in, if you see here, once we say yes to the venture, that means they're coming with at least 100K cash, plus funders' money, plus maybe other angels. So you need to come into the Lean Acceleration Program with some funds, with a good team to execute product development sprints and marketing sprints. And we will do the investment readiness bootcamp to increase your investment and pitch again to raise bigger tickets. Usually we've seen $500,000 is the tickets in demo day for that cohort. For usually 1 year earlier, we're seeing 200,000 riyals to 500,000 riyals. In the following year, we'll see 200,000 USD, which is 800,000 to $1 million, 1.2 million around of that sort of tickets. And so if you get incubated 2 times or 2 years, that's it, we cannot renew it. If you came in on the 2nd year where you already started your venture with a live product and with early revenue, you come in on acceleration, then you can stay 2 years with us. This is the roadmap. So this is our convertible note. It's called Musharaka, it's Sharia compliant, and it is made out of 100,000 riyals cash and 150,000 worth of in-kind services, renewal. And convertible note, it is you take the money now, we do not take a percentage now. It will be converted to a percentage later, because at early stage we cannot put evaluation to your venture, neither you can. So the lean startup helps the early stage idea, or if you have an MVP, to de-risk your business model by running experiments in the market, and we increase your investment readiness, and then you pitch for investment. And this is if you see the venture, you check in. If you start in the beginning, you look at discovering your customers, and then once you develop an MVP, you try to validate. Validate means they say yes and they pay money. That's a good sign. You have few customers here. You're basically de-risking. The more you go this way, you're de-risking your business model, you're de-risking your channel, you're de-risking your revenue model, you're understanding more who are your customers. The more you acquire customers, your revenue will increase, as you see here, whether expected returns or actual returns. You will increase your revenue, and also you decrease your risk. And here, if you hit this node and you move forward, basically you achieve product market fit, what we call it PMF, product market fit. In this stage or this area, this period, this is the 1 year of incubation, where the program helps you to discover your customers, build an MVP, and validate a little bit. We get the seeds, or you get the seeds or the signs of validation. Hence, we invest on high risk still, but there's always, chances of success and failures in venture scales. So this is the Lean Acceleration Program. As startups grow and gain traction, and then validate their business model, basically the 9 blocks, and then here at this point, they can write a business plan, because all the items of the business model has been validated in terms of cost, in terms of revenue, in terms of product cost, in terms of marketing, level of effort and cost, in terms of customer input, in terms of unit economics, how much you're making, how you reach them, the conversion costs, the team, you understand and you validate your team. In the beginning, you might have not a fit with different members. You might source somebody here part-time, later on, or on a project basis, but later on, you need to start recruiting your team, of course, and creating the culture, creating the SOPs. And SOPs, I always say, this is a corporate language. These are the SOPs are death sentences for startups, because they're rigid. So you need to create agile SOPs, always question them at a higher frequency, and different approach to venture creation. Once you identify and validate your business model, you become business model fit, and then you start to exploit it and maximize the returns, right? This is optimization, innovation optimization, rather than innovation per se. But you will be at risk of being disrupted if you sit too comfortably in this zone. So we operate as an incubator in this spectrum, and that's why we per se are an incubator and pre-accelerator. And usually on demo days, this is the good old days when we used to meet physically. For last 2 demo days, we've done them virtually. Hopefully, this one, it will be with small audience, and hopefully next year, maybe we return back to, I don't know, everybody says there's a new normal or new abnormal, depending how you're going to see it. Any questions? Because this is kind of an introduction to Cubic and then the services. So now I'm going to dive into the coaching program. If there's any questions, please throw them at the log. Happy to take them on. This is the current Lean coaching program format. So we usually run our marketing campaigns. We invite coaches to come, and then they come in and they attend the Lean Startup program. The program is for idea stage and MVP stage. We split them into 2 groups, the coaches, and they run the program, it is split into two categories. Category 1 or phase 1 from week 1 to week 6, where they are shadow coaching myself and another coach in Quebec. But as of week 7 onward, they start to take more of an aggressive take on coaching, internalize all the learning, all the remarks that we give. And also, of course, from week 1 to week 6, they always engage. But as of week 7, they engage significantly. And then as of week 11, we recommend to the management to commission those coaches to work with us for 1 year, and we match them with the awarded coaches or incubated startups. I mean, we will match them in week 11 in demo day. So this is next year's agenda, and it requires full engagement from the coaches, which means 90% attendance, engaged in the sessions, commenting, reacting to the content. That's how we measure the relevance when they engage and comment, if they're relevant on the topic, somehow relevant or irrelevant. And we aggregate all these scores, and then later on, we'll see if we can commission them. So it's very experiential, very engagement basis, the program. This is the Lean Startup program and the Lean Coaching program together. So if you check in here, we're in week 6. We're in the Lean with the Lean LCP seminar in Road. So I salute the LCP coaches with us today. And I see many names in the chat, in the attendees. And we move on as of week 7. And if you check in here, their role is shadow coach on Sundays or Mondays for 2 hours, plus attend Wednesday sessions, because this is what the Lean Startup is about. It's about Sundays or Mondays. Each day, any of those days, the coaches come in. But Wednesdays, all coaches come in to the Wednesday session because it's about seminars and workshops. Sunday and Monday, we coach the startups on a regular basis. And the outputs of every week is whatever we worked on before, plus new output that is a result of entrepreneurs meeting customers every week and bringing data from the market. So the Lean Startup program is no theory per se. It is actual implementation of the business case. Those who do not apply, we put pressure on them. We push them to apply. And if they don't, we tell them, okay, sorry, you did not decrease your investment increase your investment readiness. You did not decrease your business model risks because you did not deploy experiments in the market. We tell them, okay, now you know the roadmap, please go and do it on your own. And then when you're ready, come back, because we won't invest in you if you're just sitting and doing nothing. So it's pretty much engaged, hands-on program towards investment. That's simply the programs are knowledge put into action to de-risk your business. How a simple formula of incubation or programs. And this is the second phase, as I mentioned, in the coaches. They will engage as of week 7 onward. They will engage and coach the startups. And myself, I would be in the backseat, enjoying the last 3-4 weeks of the program and listening to their coaching sessions on Sundays and Mondays. So I'll talk now a bit about fundraising. So this is what we cover usually in the programs about fundraising. We cover venture scale experimentation mindset and tools. So now I want to share with you quickly that what is different in the venture scale is so different than there's a huge difference between SMEs, small and medium enterprises, and startups. So small and medium enterprises, you can write a business plan for them. Everything is predictable because these businesses exist in the market. There's not much uncertainty. Everything is there, from the cost to the expected revenue, to the team needed, resources needed, and the time, the technology, everything is there. So companies usually of that source do not grow fast and do not grow in exponential growth, right? Because you just execute a roadmap. There's nothing per se uncertain. Where in the startups, they're not. They're absolutely not, because we define or one of the definitions of startup is a temporary organization designed to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. This is a very important pause I would put in here. Temporary, because you should not remain forever a startup. You should validate your business model or not validate it. That means you fail, or you pivot, you change. And then you run experiments until either you become an organization, a scalable organization. If you're not scalable, you become a small or medium enterprise, where there's nothing shameful about it, but it is not a startup or a scale-up anymore. So repeatability and scalability of the business model is what differentiates startup and scale-up to SMEs. And when people put those together, they're putting oil and water together. They got nothing to do with each other. No tool here is relevant here. No mindset here is relevant here. This is an absolute black and white approach. Now, business processes for startups have been created lately. We're talking in the last 10 to 12 years max, right? There are innovation processes before, but I won't say actual documentation of roadmaps and methods and tools for startups. Yet in the company, creating a business plan was created more than 100 years ago. So coaches, what we're aiming to do in the Lean Coaching Program is to train experts. Some of them, they are angel investors. Some of them worked in startups. Some of them did not. So we have a variety of experiences that come in, right? Most of them, they have definitely corporate experience or consultants. So consultants mean actual experience with SMEs, right? And maybe large corps. So we will tune in their experience to the methods and tools and mindset, how to work with a startup. So we run also marketing sprints and validation every 2 weeks. The entrepreneurs prepare a sets of artworks, define a certain channel, create the content through images and text related to a lot of customer segmentation efforts done earlier. They push it out, and here we do not encourage spending a lot of money. We care about variety and small investments. We're talking about not more than 5 riyals per ad per day, per channel, per segment. That's the how little we can allocate, because simply we want to understand the conversion rates. And once we understand more, then they start to put more resources in what is working. All right, they run a lot of A/B testing to understand what's hot and what's not. Those who click as customers on those artworks land on the page, click the call to action to order something, to book something. This is how things we track by trackability of data. We work on product dev, whether they are in the idea stage, they will do product specifications on how to define the features, the most must-build features for early adopters, and also for those who are in the second group in the Lean Startup Program, the MVP holders, the minimum viable product. As they deploy experiments, they start to log input from customers, what we must build in the future, which is MVP 1.1 or MVP 2, whatever you want to call it. And of course, once they log in the requirements, they will understand the cost of achieving that sprint. And this is one of the important data points for the entrepreneurs. The other data point on cost, which is cost of marketing. So this is important to understand both cost buckets. And experimentation is not only on channel, which is marketing, which is the acquisition channels, or not only in the delivery channels, which is the product, but also experimentations on the revenue model. There's a lot of areas to lower the barriers, create interesting incentives, and creating dynamic revenue models to capture the early adopters and late adopters in the first sprints. So I want to just put for you in front of you a schematic so you understand a little bit the idea of sprint, how do we go about it? So in every week, this is what the coaching is about. We review their plan for the experiments, right? Whatever you're going to go to do with your customers, what are the assumptions? What is the test looking allowed to meet, to publish an ad, to drop an email, whatever that is, and why you're doing it, in order to validate what on your business model, or to question something on your business model, because those to understand what is yes, what is a no, what is to keep, what is to remove, or what is to persevere on experimenting on the business model. These experiments to help you decide what to do and what not to do. Through experimentation, you deploy them in the market, and you understand, of course, the cost of the experiment, and of course, the result. And basically, you capture what are the outcomes and the cost of the outcomes, basically working with your customers. Did you go for a meeting with them? Did you submit a proposal, or it's an automated already experience on your platform? Product usability analysis, so on and so forth. Messaging also, we can question the experiments efficacy of the messaging, the visuals, the channels also, the targeting. So everything is questionable, everything is uncertain. And through experiments and data, we will understand. And then time, as you generate those outcomes, you need to, outputs, I mean, you need to decide what to do, what not to do, what to persevere. And this is very important, the last one, what to focus and what to ignore. Startups get bombarded with information, especially from, the opportunities. The mind is still in the ideation phase. They always ideate and come up with that. Why don't we build this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that? And they kind of always distracted in the focus area of what do I need to validate? Where do I need to put my resources to help me with the fastest way possible and the lowest cost possible to validate key assumptions and to get validation, which is financial commitments from my customers at the earliest possible. And as an entrepreneur, you need to measure, and as a coach, you need to measure the period of those sprints, because time is the highest luxury in a startup. This is the biggest resource that it is. The clock is ticking, the money is going to run out. If they're not very fast in the deployment of the cycles, they're going to take a lot of time to build, to measure something, and then to learn, and then to decide. This is a death sentence for a startup. And then the frequency. So imagine you have, let's say, 50,000 riyals, and you do one build, measure, learn cycle, and it takes you 3 months to do that. That means, and then your runway, you're burning 10,000 riyals a month. So you have runway of 5 months, 10,000 a month, you have 50,000, you have 5 months to survive. If it took you 3 months to do build, measure, learn cycle, which is building something floppy, running a marketing campaign, bringing customers, understanding what they want, and see if you can monetize. If it took 3 months, that means 30,000 were burned. That means you're left with 2 months. If you're going to take another 3 months to learn, your runway is done. You learned only one time. So that's why we push our entrepreneurs to be agile. They're not used for that, right? They're not used for that. But as they deploy and they understand runway and resources, and the limited resources they have and the time that they have, then they become very pushy in creating value through periodicity. High periodicity, high frequency, low periodicity, high frequency, and low cost, of course, of the experiments. I'll pick up here a question. When we are incorporating our fintech sent in QFC, can we schedule an introductory call with Mr. Metli? So I'm here, I can see your questions. So our just to step back here and mention that Cubic is part of QDB family. At QDB, we have 4 incubators. We have the FinTech Hub. So I invite you to apply to the FinTech Hub. We have a Sports Tech, we have Cubic, and we have Scale 7 looking at fashion. So this is the portfolio that we have. And today I'm focusing specifically about Cubic and the Lean Coaching Program. You're welcome to reach out to me. My email is at the end of the presentation. Hamza, great question, Hamza. Why there is no focus on brand and branding? So I'm a big fan of Steve Jobs, and I'm a big fan of experiences. We tell our startups, focus on the experience. What customer experience is needed? What are the issues they want to solve? What are the key issues to be solved? Solve those things. Whether you have a white page landing page with just a Times New Roman typeface, if you deliver the value, then later on you think about how you're gonna create the ethos of the value, because you don't know what is the brand ingredients. You don't know what is your value. So understand your customers, understand the anticipated value. Once you understand what you're trying to solve, you'll understand the brand DNA, then you will voice it out and develop it. And definitely spending money on branding in the beginning is a waste of money, because looking good and being irrelevant is irrelevant. I hope I answered your question. Brilliant. So I'll take the opportunity to. I hope, Hamza, I answered your questions. If you have any further questions, please fire them away. And by the way, I am a branding expert. This is how I've been trained in the beginning, but it is a challenge to take out that hat and wear the hat of value and business models, and later on package the meaningful experiences. I'm not saying branding is not important, but it's not coming first, right? First, understanding who you are, and then creating the brand is coming second. I agree with you, branding is not about looks, but you cannot brand something that you don't know. First, you need to understand your brand architecture, which is your values. And you know your values after meeting your customers and doing a lot of experiments. So the customer comes first, not the branding. You can do whatever you want in the beginning just to position yourself with assumptions, but this is a work in progress approach, the branding exercise. Brilliant. So this is a message to the coaches with us in the session. So know yourself and know your customer. This is definitely, we're in a cosmos of unknowns, and we are in between. One of the good books or interesting books I really love, it's called Incognito. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we know. And sometimes if we think we know what we know, sometimes we're wrong. And sometimes we know what we don't know. There is this quadrant is very, very important for everybody to be looking at. And as we work with other people in life for different reasons, the coaches are always on their toes when they're working with entrepreneurs and startups, because it's such a skewed experience. These entrepreneurs are in fire squading mode. They are in a ticking bomb. There is expectations, there's social pressure, there's a runway, there is clients' expectations, there's investor expectations, and the peers' expectations. The pressure is paramount, and how to help them navigate this place, you need to, first of all, if you're a former entrepreneur, that's awesome. That's the ideal situation. You've been in a roller coaster before, so you can, you're predisposed for managing, a jumper seat next to the entrepreneur in a roller coaster. There are a lot of, by the way, a lot of tools for like Myers test and others to understand personalities. I love this one because it's pretty caricaturish, and Enneagram. If you check in the website, it's cool. I'll start with the perfectionist or reformer, the helper or giver. And you can see yourself in different percentages in those capacities. There's no one person fully that. And as you discover yourself in life, you might have done some personality tests earlier. You might have an indication on your traits. So the third one is the achiever or performer, the individualistic or romantic, the investigator or observer, the loyal skeptic, the enthusiast or epicure, the leader or protector or challenger, and the peacemaker or mediator. So these 9 personalities are interesting to look into. If you're familiar with other tools, keep them next to you, use them. You have to use them. It's not an option, because you cannot go on working with people without understanding each other. And there's a social science for it, and better use it rather than leave things up in the air. So brilliant. So this is a point of departure, that as you start coaching a startup, keep an eye on this and put your assumptions on how you think their attributes from 1 to 10 for each personality trait. And it is through learning by doing. The more you meet them, the more you will understand. Through differences in situations. So in time of conflict, you will know more the people. In time of ease, there's sometimes not many situations that you can extrapolate data. You need a trigger to understand reactions and motivations and intents. Right. So any question on the personalities? Yeah, definitely there are lots of tools, for in this domain. Social science is very rich. The MBP test is very famous. I used it many times. Was used on me many times. So you learn through, again, differences. But whichever tool you're familiar with and you're knowledgeable of, use it, because definitely use it and give it to the entrepreneur to know, so they know themselves in case they never done it before, and also for you as a coach to know oneself. So this is PAPI also. Also PAPI is a very interesting exercise. It's confusing in many areas, because if you score low in something, it doesn't mean it is bad. It means the traits are shifted to another area. So those who love social science definitely will love this space. I won't say it's a perfect science. It's social. That's why it's called social science. And the way to interpret them, right, can be situational many times. In certain situations, you might behave in a certain trait. Sometimes you behave in other traits, and that could be, something that we cannot put, a point in specific areas. But the whole point is to empathize with your customers, to understand the role of empathy, or higher, a position of empathy. When you and this is what we say to our entrepreneurs: go and understand your customer. And the empathy is understand, do, feel, think, say. And if there's any misalignment, you will understand, anything. Sometimes by observing, you will know stuff from an anthropological point of view. Sometimes conversational, sometimes situational. So there are a lot of areas to know other people, and then the coach is definitely North Star is to explore and be the customer, be the entrepreneur as you work with them. And if you become them, that is something we call it empathy. It's beyond sharing feelings, and I understand you. It's not that anymore. It is way deeper than that. It's not that, I mean, it's deeper than that. So, so this is something very important to look into. And as a coach, it is through deep listening and meaningful conversations and reflective conversations, internalized conversations, that we can achieve definitely empathy. So this is what the conclusion is: to know yourself and know the person that you're dealing with. Now, entrepreneurs come in with an agenda. The bias is always there. They have a funnel vision, we call it. Funnel vision is, I'm here, I have an idea, I'm coming to execute it. With this bias, there is a focused view, and as you see, there is a peripheral view. The peripheral view is what the entrepreneurs cannot see. The coach can, because you would probe the entrepreneurs in other situations. Now, we don't tell them, hey, there is a tree there, look at it. This is not our job. Our job is to question their focus and question other alternatives. And they have to foresee, they have to understand this framework, that they need to react to it. And this comes in, of course, coachability of a startup. Is he reacting to questions and probes that explore bigger situations than what they are looking into? And those situations could be right and wrong, but the potential is there. And you don't know what you don't know again. Being inquisitive is looking at the entrepreneur the same way we tell the entrepreneurs, ask why for your questions. We need to also to probe them why, with why. So they're looking why because I have it in mind, or why I have a data point. And is that data point is reliable? Do you have enough statistical representation for it? Or is it anecdotal? Or it's a one-off? So help them to understand things in a deeper way, you know, the 7 whys from the Japanese approach. Think different. This is the famous, famous image from that Apple used it in the 80s for Apple. Is first of all, everybody talks about think outside the box. If I go back to image number 1, the world to them is the box, and they are in it and they don't see anything behind it. So how you will help them to see what there is a bigger ecosystem outside the box, and your box is in the forest and there is a whole, a whole universe around it, is by probing them and questioning their funnel vision. And after they understand there are other dots, then they can connect other dots and think outside the box. So there is always, per se, no focus on the roadmap to unpack the box and the ecosystem of the box. And at the programs, we do those sprints. We help them to step back and question the bigger pictures. And as they do, fluff is all the way. Where politeness is fluff. Politeness is white lies. Unfortunately, we see politeness and little honesty. Where this is what entrepreneurs need to understand: the cultural approaches to talking to customers and unpacking that why is such. And we help entrepreneurs to sharpen their radars, being great listeners and understanding and unpacking the information that is coming to them. What does it mean? The data that becomes information through quick internalization. So what I mean by that is exposing their ego. If you ask them somebody, they might give you whatever just to showcase that they don't know. Or that they know, I mean. Or they don't want to put you in a bad position. They will reply to please you. They will reply because they don't have time. They reply and they would say, of course, please come back to me. And they can be bothered. So understanding the interactions, the facial gestures, the tones, the motricity, the intent, the ecosystem of the customer, how they spend, how they consume, how they do things. And again, deeper empathy, they will understand what does it mean fluff. And, wait for the aha moment, because if you have a biased point of view, and the customer is telling you something, you're going to continue convincing them, but they're telling you they're not interested, but you're continuing to, you don't understand me. I'm not explaining it properly. Or if you delegate it to somebody, they're not explaining it properly. Well, there's no deep listening in the entrepreneur's approach if you have funnel vision. So these are the areas that when they bring them, we try to help them to unpack those information and what do they mean on a business model level. And be prepared for separation anxiety. This is when you tell them, like, move on to another area because this has been validated. No, they get attached to it, right? So being attached to their agenda is something you have to deal with as a coach. And by probing, not by telling them you have to do this or try to do that, we don't tell them try things. We question an area and we question the creation of other alternatives. They have to come up with this. We're mental facilitators of human situations in business where it's highly, highly uncertain. So I'm asked here for, we have a question in the box if you wish to answer. I don't see the question, sorry.
If you just click on the Q&A box.
Yeah, I got different comments. I have Meyer test personality works. I mean, it works, of course, for some in certain situations. You can triangulate different tools if you wish. But the comments that you missed stuff and meeting recording, can we review? I don't know about that, the recordings. I think the team answered that. So yeah, I don't believe there are other questions in this regard. Brilliant. So I'll move on. This is very important. This is, I have another version in Arabic, sawalif. The entrepreneurs, once they start to talk with customers to understand things or to validate and pitch their idea towards moving forward for a yes or no, or pitch something to understand alternative realities, not per se to sell, is to probe the customers, to unpack them talking better, deeper, more relevant, and of course, establish trust towards a rapport between the entrepreneur and the startup, the entrepreneur and the customer, I mean. So with those things, we work on the vocab, the business vocab of their venture week in, week out. So they can deliver on-point messages coming out from carefully developed and crafted content segment by segment. What does it mean, the segment? What they're trying to achieve? What are the key challenges? Quantifying the challenges, looking at what they want to do and get done, and their aspirations, and can we quantify those? And then whatever the startup responds to those inputs from customers or assumptions to be validated in meetings with customers, they will respond to them with solutions that are either a solution to a problem or an enabler to an aspiration. And with that, you provide value. And after you understand those key ingredients, then you'll understand the value of your company, and then you can build the brand and the branding that represents it. So it's a bottom-up approach. It's customer-centered through human situations on a business intent. Now, definitely in the beginning, we ask our entrepreneurs not to sell, but to validate. And there's a huge difference between those two. Validate is openness to learn. It's conversational. You might be right on your point and pitching to your customers, or you might be wrong. This openness is not a sales openness. The sales is a yes or no, coming back to you 1 time, 2 times, 3 on the same thing. They might vary something for you, give you a discount. That's the only thing they would change. But it's the same product. Take it or leave it. Take it or leave it. Where the entrepreneurs is relevance. Is this relevant? Why it's not relevant? Can I understand more? What do you do? Can I understand what are your challenges? Can I build for your relevance? And this is what the startups are about. Looking at gaps and interests and converting them through relevant sprints on product dev, on marketing to monetize, and then to bring them to pay and validate. The roadmap is so different. After you reach validation and product market fit, which is growth, and you start to see some growth, there you start to create your sales pods, sales strategy, and you can write a business plan. In the beginning, these are completely irrelevant tools. Brilliant. So we put a line in the sand on expectations and commitment. Time is very important, and we don't want to waste anybody's time. If you don't deploy market experiments, you don't bring data, that means the program is fluff for you. We're not a university, so bring data and come in. And those who don't come data, we're very honest with them. What are you doing? Why you're here? Please come, bring data and from the customers, from experiments, and let's move forward. And of course, the team, if they're lone wolves and they want to conquer the world, they're in La La Land. You need a whole team to deploy experiments. You have different capacities, at least 3 capabilities: business acumen, marketing, and technology, solution development. So if they don't have these, the coach must immediately mitigate those shortfallings and tell them where are the resources, who you want to bring, you want to create a team, so on and so forth. And within this approach of uncertainty, how do we handle the person? And of course, when they want to communicate with no blah blahs to pitch their venture. So I will move on with the cycle of coaching, and I will conclude on this slide. So when we check in with an entrepreneur, we always keep a positive approach to the situation with a smile, welcoming. When we start the session, we look about what is the objective of this session, what we're trying to do on the venture, where are the sprints, what are we doing, on what we're trying to validate in the market, where we're at, what we're trying to do, and what are the data coming in and coming out. So we listen to their curation. We listen deeply, and there are 3 levels of listening. Internal listening, when they say something, that we will listen from the point of view of what does it mean for us. The second level of listening is listening and understanding them and understanding their emotions. The third level, which is a global level of listening, is becoming them, and that is deep empathy. This is very big task for coaches to reach the third level. It requires training, it requires disassociation, and it's not easy. And of course, we need to be motivational and inspirational, that there are a lot of ups and downs in this roller coaster. You need to be with them and trust the process of customer centricity and deploy experiments. And then we develop with them the goals, and then we move on, we check out, and we move on, sometimes virtually and sometimes physically. Now, after the listening, we talk about taking charge. There is an importance of time. Every time we meet an entrepreneur, we need to manage the time and the touch point carefully, being in command, setting expectations, going through those things, and being productive in those touch points. And setting, we call the 3 Ps. What is the problem, what you're doing presently, and what you're planning to do in regarding to your sprints. And then probing is the key attitude of an entrepreneur, of a coach. Probing, not telling. We do not advise, we probe. And then we help them to question things through reflections. So this is the approach of the engagement ring. There are some key tips on the face of the coach: squarely, being open posture, lean a little bit to them, kind of like a friendly note, keep eye contact, and then it's a relaxed touch point. And there's an ethical and a contract between us. We're here to help them. So there's confidentiality, positive communication, accountability, and frequency. We agree to meet weekly or bi-weekly. We keep at that definitely in hand. And of course, we commission them for 1 year as coaches to work with an entrepreneur on a contract on a certain frequency. So what I talked a lot about, what is coaching? It's a partnership, it's a positive engagement, and the process to de-risk the business model. It's a level of effort to enable the entrepreneur de-risk the business model. It is not consultancy, it is not mentoring, and it is not a quick fix. It's not like I can call a coach that can help me out to figure it out and that's it. It's an ongoing process, because the customer development roadmap, it's a marathon with many sprints. And we document everything in our roadmap with our entrepreneurs. We have a portal. And then this is the key, very simple steps how we go about it. Those who will be commissioned as coaches on the onboarding day in December, hopefully we will dive deeper into the expectations, technical expectations. We do matchmaking between our startups and entrepreneurs, and hopefully to work together. So that's my, if you wish to apply for the acceleration program, which I'm launching tomorrow, please go to our website and apply. If you are coaches, please go to our website and apply to the Lean Coaching Program next year. My email is here. Feel free to email me. And I'm opening for a few minutes for questions. Please go ahead.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amin. I think we have a few questions on the Q&A tab as well. Please feel free to answer.
I believe I covered them all.
Yeah, I think we had the new ones as well.
Sorry, I don't see them.
Did you click on the Q&A tab?
Yeah, I'm scrolling in it all, so I believe I answered the questions. If there's anything else, please post a comment. Happy to take it. You can email me, and for the Lean coaches who are already in our session today and those who are not, so we cheer you and big shout out to your efforts in the Lean Startup program, and looking forward to work together. For those who are not in the Lean coaching program, I hope that was a peeking into our operation, understanding what does it mean Lean and how you coach an entrepreneur in a state of fluidity and uncertainty, both financially, understanding what they're doing, emotionally, and with that, the task of coaches is daunting in many places. In good times, it's celebrations, but most of it is in panic mode times. And we tend to live up to those experiences. We're human. We have our own flaws, but we always grow with every startup that we work with, and nothing comes cheap. The time that we put in with our entrepreneurs, we learn with them, which give us definitely personal growth, and we will guide them towards, unpacking situations and then creating value for them towards, validation. And what I've seen in the past that many coaches become investors in certain ventures. It is a tricky space for a coach who has a certain contract and mandate and non-disclosures and avoid conflict of interest. But I've seen a pattern globally that coaches become angels, of course, if they have the financial capacity and of course the time to execute those things. So I just checked in here right now, the questions. I'll pick up the last one. Is it okay for the coach to stay focused in his field of expertise, or should be able to coach in other fields? Yeah, so for me, Hamza, I'm sector agnostic, because industry expertise is should be in the entrepreneur's hand, and we can bring technical coaches or technical experts to dive in. From a business modeling perspective and maneuvering, this is a common denominator thread. Of course, you need to know the industry's barriers and learn more. And this is the beauty of a coach, where you learn more in specific industries. So a slide before Papi, it is the question asked is, I think, Myers test, and before that, yeah, I think it's Myers test. What are the best personalities for coaches? That's a tricky question. The traits are very, very, very diverse. You need to have a balanced personality with those approaches, with those entrepreneurs. But it's hard to point out right now. I can give you the perfect coach attributes.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Amin, it's about time. I mean, if you would like to take maybe one or two more questions, but I don't think we'll be able to take them all.
Sure, no problem.
There are other sessions coming up. Okay.
Brilliant. So how do you deal with different startup stages at the same cohort? So we split them as cohorts. Each group is in different time and category. That's why we divide our time accordingly. We need to be relevant to the cohort comments. When I mentioned MVP stage is alone, idea stage is alone, coaches here are different than here in different times. So we saw the wrong approach by MVP, which will waste time and effort, how it can be guided. Well, the North, Rami, is always the customer, is always meeting the customer, understanding what should be built. And you need enough patterns of those feedbacks to build, and we have the ICE metric for that.
We okay?
I think, yeah, can we work with multiple groups? So that is again time bounded. It is possible. You're gonna meet all the stuff onward in the mini demo day, and it start to set the stage for connections and matchmaking, which will bank on it towards week 11 on demo day. Coaches, we do not accept coaches from abroad because we need to contract them, contractually work with them, and they need to be in the country. Unfortunately, we cannot cover that. How do you select coaches? I think, Muhammad, I covered the idea of relevance and attendance. First, you need to be, and after being in the program and commenting, how relevant are you in your comments? And we measure relevance, and based on that, we recommend. They're already been filtered on expertise. In the beginning, we had around 600 applications. We accepted 60, and then that's the first filter. And the second, we might get it wrong in some ways. There's always a human factor. There's always metrics that are man-made, but we try as much as you can to be relevant. I hope I answered most of the questions. Sorry, I had a blank in seeing the questions, and I hope they were covered. Thank you for attending, and I hope it provided you a sneak peek into coaching and coaching styles. It's an ocean of information. In 1 hour, we can say intros. We can open small windows to you. You can increase your readership. There's a lot of content out there on YouTube. But those who are in LSP, looking forward to see you on Wednesday here forth. And those who are interested, please apply to the website and see you in the Lean Coaching Program next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Amir, for this fruitful session. And our dear audience, thank you for supporting by attending and contributing. We hope you enjoyed this session, and I'll see you in our next workshops.
Thank you, and good night.